Dr. Mira was Lagos miracle worker. For 2 years, desperate couples flocked to his fertility clinic on Victoria Island, clutching envelopes of money and bleeding hearts of prayers. His fee started from 2.5 million naira and climbed the ladder, but people paid. They sold lands, borrowed from banks, mortgaged future salaries, all for one promise. Nobody left Mira Magic Fertility without a baby after 9 months. Inside the waiting room, it always felt like Sunday service. Women sat in flowing gowns, some holding baby shawls on their laps as if fate could speed the process. Men sat stiff, their faces carrying equal parts, shame and stubborn hope. On the walls, rows of smiling baby pictures beamed down. Black babies, mixed race babies, sets of twins and triplets, each framed under the bold caption, "Our miracle, our joy." It was a gallery of proof, and proof was what desperate couples needed. That evening, the Adekunles were the first to enter Mira's office. Mrs. Adekunle clutched her husband's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Doctor, we've been trying for the past 8 years. We've gone everywhere. Everyone says you are our last hope." Dr. Mira leaned back in his leather chair, his bowed head catching the light. His smile practiced and reassuring. He liked that phrase, last hope. It made him feel like a small god. "You are in the right place," he said, adjusting his cufflinks with quiet authority. "Here, no one cries for long. Boy or girl, twins or even triplets, anything you want, you can get it. Mira Magic does not fail." Miss Adekunle gasped, turning quickly to her husband. "Did you hear him?" Mr. Adekunle's face, weary from years of silence, softened. He exhaled deeply. "God has done it." Mira chuckled, tapping the desk like a teacher correcting a child. "God and Dr. Mira," he said gently. "Now, let us begin." The Adekunles left moments later, their faces glowing as though they had just been handed their miracle. When the door opened again, another couple stepped inside. Their entrance was different. No loud pleas, no immediate tears, just a heavy silence that clung to them like a shadow. It was Ngozi and Chuka. Ngozi's gele was perfectly tied, her wrapper neat, but her eyes betrayed her. They were swollen eyes, the kind that had memorized the cracks in bathroom tiles from too many nights of crying. She sat carefully, smoothing her dress over her knees, refusing to meet Mira's eyes. Chuka sat beside her, his shoulders square but his jaw tight. He was the picture of a man who had carried too many insults and buried them in silence. "Good evening, doctor," Chuka said, his voice low but steady. Mira glanced at their file, his polished fingernails tapping against the paper. 6 years of marriage, yet we don't have any issues. Ngozi's lips trembled. "Yes, doctor, we've tried everything. Hospitals, herbs, churches, even fasting and prayers, yet nothing." Mira leaned back, tilting his head. Silence stretched across the room, the sound of the air-conditioned hum filling the emptiness. Ngozi pulled out a handkerchief from her bag, dabbing her eyes quickly, embarrassed at her own tears. Chuka reached under the table, his rough palm covering hers. She squeezed back, holding on to him as though he was the only thing keeping her upright. Mira leaned forward now, lowering his voice into a near whisper, the kind that sounded like prophecy. "You don't need to cry again. The crying ends here. My clinic is the final bus stop. Once you step in, you step out with joy. Twins or triplets, whether boy or girl, anything you want. We create miracles here." Ngozi blinked fast, trying to stop the tears that kept spilling. Chuka cleared his throat, his voice cracking slightly. "Doctor, just give us one, even if it's just one. We are tired of the insults." Dr. Mira nodded knowingly, like a pastor who understood every hidden wound. "That is the story of a lot of couples like you. Let me guess. Your mother insults you and has even stopped visiting." Chuka froze, stunned. The words cut too close. Ngozi's soul broke open. "The worst is my friends. I have even stopped opening WhatsApp. Too many baby pictures, too many naming ceremony invitations, even in church. I stopped attending the women's group. They look at me as if I'm cursed." Chuka rubbed her arm gently, his voice low and heavy. We even went to different hospitals. They said my wife has no problem. They said I have no problem. Yet, nothing. Mira listened in silence, letting their pain breathe. Then he sat back, folding his arms. Well, you are in the right place. Here, you will not leave empty-handed, but there are some rules you will have to keep. Everything must be done with me. All your tests, all your scans, all your treatments. You cannot let other hands spoil what God is doing through me. Do you understand? Yes, doctor, yes, anything you say, Ngozi said quickly. Desperate, Dr. Mira smiled, satisfied. He pulled out a small pack of blister pills. Well, these are my special fertility tablets. They will help you conceive in weeks. Once you take them, your system will change. You may feel some kind of way, vomiting, nausea. Don't worry. They are all part of the pregnancy journey. You may go and meet the cashier, make your payment. Then when the time is right, we'll do our first scan. Chuka leaned forward cautiously. Doctor, but are you sure we are going to get pregnant? Because we spent a lot of money. Dr. Mira smiled knowingly, his salesman's charm glowing. Mr. Chuka, let me tell you something. In this clinic, nobody cries twice. You will have your child, mark my words. Ngozi broke into fresh tears, but this time they weren't tears of sorrow. She pressed her face into her handkerchief, sobbing softly. Chuka held her hand under the table, gripping it tight. For the first time in 6 years, they allowed themselves to hope again. By the 4th year of Mira Magic Fertility, Dr. Mira had become a legend. His clinic on VI glowed at night, the signboard shining like a lighthouse. Mira Magic Fertility. Boy or girl, anything you want, you can get here. The clinic's park was always full. SUVs, Tokumbo, Camrys, even keke riders who had borrowed from cooperatives just to afford his fees. Inside, couples sat in reverent silence as if they were waiting not for a doctor but for a prophet. And Mira, he fed them that image. He walked in each morning in his white coat, gold wristwatch gleaming, chin lifted like royalty. Nurses followed behind him like disciples, holding files and whispering updates. On the wall, the photographs multiplied, smiling babies, plump toddlers, even triplets. To the world, Mira had unlocked what others could not. But inside his office, the truth was darker. His empire was built not on science, but on illusion. Every patient who came received what Mira called supportive tablets. He prescribed them with a flourish, his voice deep and certain. These tablets prepare your womb, he would say. They signal your body that a baby has arrived. In reality, the pills were nothing more than hormonal drugs. They mimicked the symptoms of pregnancy: nausea, breast tenderness, dizziness. Women clutched buckets to vomit, and Mira nodded knowing. That is the sound of your miracle working, he assured them. When husbands saw their wives retching, they smiled in relief. Finally, proof. Nobody asked questions. Symptoms were enough. But Mira's masterpiece was the machine. Behind his desk stood a sleek ultrasound system, imported second-hand from abroad. To the untrained eye, it looked normal, but beneath the console, hiding beneath the wires, was a black box, his secret weapon. With a flick of hand, Mira could make the monitor show a tiny flicker, a bleeding heart. A pre-recorded sound thudded softly through the speakers. Can you hear that? Mira would whisper, his tone hushed, sacred. Your baby is greeting you. The women wept. The husbands squeezed their wives' hands until knuckles turned white. Some fell on their knees, thanking God right there in the clinic. And Mira, standing over them, smiled like a man who controlled life itself. He was careful to keep control over every detail. All scans must be done here, instructed. Other hospitals don't have my technology. They will confuse you. If you truly want your miracle, trust me and me alone. And they obeyed. Even when the neighbor suggested a second opinion, patients shook their heads in fear. Mira's warning echoed in their minds. I don't want anything to happen to my baby, one woman replied. When one woman returned from a general hospital saying the doctor found nothing in her womb, Dr. Mira laughed dismissively. Those people, you went to a general hospital. They can't even detect twins properly. Don't let outsiders kill your joy. You're pregnant. Her husband immediately silenced her doubt. Didn't I tell you? This man knows what he's doing. Hope was heavier than truth. Still, not everyone could ignore what they saw. In the Mira Mommy's WhatsApp group, whispers began. My scan showed twins, but now they say it's nothing. Why is my stomach still flat at 6 months? Doctors say every woman carries differently, but I don't know if that's true. Yet the conversations never lasted. Fear choked them. Shame silenced them. To doubt Dr. Mira was to admit you have failed, and nobody wanted to be seen as foolish, not after spending millions. So they typed half questions, then deleted them. They posted emojis, prayers, testimonies instead. Mira's empire held strong, built on silence. But every empire, no matter how carefully built, begins to shake. One afternoon, Mira stood in his office, admiring his wall of baby photographs, smiling faces, framed innocence, all proof of his greatness. He touched one frame proudly. As he turned away, another frame slid slightly, tilted, then fell to the floor with a soft crack. Mira paused, staring at the broken glass. His lips tightened, his eyes darkened. He bent slowly, picked it up and set it back in place. Nothing breaks here, he muttered under his breath. But beneath the glitter of Victoria Island, Mira's true miracle was not in the clinic. Tucked in the chaos of Ajegunle, a faded yellow building, its windows covered with mismatched curtains. Inside, young women lay on tin mattresses with swollen bellies. They were not patients, they were workers. Poor girls, housemaids, hawkers, widows lured with promises of 300 or 400,000 naira after delivery, enough to pay rent, school fees, start a business or escape poverty. A matron in a white uniform patrolled the rooms, barking orders. Make sure you take your routine drugs or hey, no noise here. Remember, this place does not exist. We don't want to welcome strange visitors here. At night, when the fans stopped spinning and mosquito filled the air, the women whispered their stories. I need to pay for my mother's hospital bills. My husband beats me a lot. I need money to run. I just want to eat without hawking under the sun every day. Their voices cracked, but hunger kept them there. They carried life for others, knowing they would walk away with only an envelope. On Victoria Island, deliveries at Mira Magic were performed like theatre. Every movement rehearsed. Ngozi and Chuka were one of the chosen couples. After 9 months of injection and strict instructions, Mira called them into his office. See, you will have to be admitted tomorrow, he said, flipping through his file with authority. Your baby is mature. We will perform a cesarean section. That is the safest way. Chuka tightened his grip on his wife's hands. Doctor, we trust you. Do whatever is best for the baby and my wife. The next morning, Ngozi was led into a small ward. Her legs trembled beneath her hospital gown. Chuka tried to follow, but a nurse blocked him at the door. Sir, no men are allowed beyond this point. Please wait outside. Chuka frowned. But I want to stay with my wife. Dr. Mira appeared instantly, calm but firm. This is procedure. The theatre must be sterile. You will see her after the operation. Trust me, you are in good hands. Chuka nodded reluctantly, bowing slightly. Yes, doctor. Inside the ward, 2 nurses guided Ngozi onto the bed. They attached a drip, then slid a syringe into her arm. Her voice shook. Doctor, will it be painful? Not at all, Mira reassured, leaning close. You will feel some pressure. Nothing more, just relax. Her eyelids fluttered heavy with sedation. Curtains went up around her bed. Instruments clinked in rhythm. The nurses spoke in clipped tones. Incision, suction, clamp. Ngozi felt dull, tugging at her abdomen. No pain, just heaviness. Her thoughts floated in and out like waves. Then suddenly, the thin cry of a newborn filled the room. It came from a hidden speaker, a recording timed to perfection. Congratulations, madam, one nurse said cheerfully. Your baby is here. Moments later, another nurse appeared, holding a newborn wrapped in a blue shawl. Mira stepped forward, his face glowing with triumph. Congratulations, he said, lowering the child onto her chest. Here is your son, strong and healthy, exactly as we promised. Ngozi's sobs broke free. She clutched the baby tightly, rocking him, whispering, "My son, my own son." Minutes later, Chuka was ushered inside. He froze, staring at the child. Then he collapsed to his knees beside the bed, tears streaming down his face. "Ngozi," he wept. "God has finally remembered us." Mira folded his arms, smiling with the quiet satisfaction of a man who had performed the miracle. "Now, go and testify about Mira magic," he instructed. "Let the whole world know that Mira magic never fails." Meanwhile, in Ajegunle, at the same moment, the real mother lay on a bare mattress, her breast leaking milk, her arms empty. A nurse will press a brown envelope into her hand. "It's 350,000 naira. You can count it later, but you must leave right now." Some women left quietly, others wept, but they all carried emptiness home. And back at Mira Magic, Thanksgiving services multiplied. Couples danced in churches with newborns raised high, shouting testimonies. WhatsApp groups overflowed with photos and praises. "This doctor, he is truly God sent. My twins are 6 months already. Oh." Prepare your Thanksgiving. Your time is near. Yet beneath the emojis and hallelujahs, faint questions lingered. Why weren't they allowed to visit other hospitals? Why did some women bear scars that healed too quickly for real surgery? Why did no one outside the clinic ever witness labor? But shame silenced suspicion. To doubt Mira Magic was to admit foolishness, and nobody wanted to confess they had paid millions for a lie. So they smiled, deleted their doubts, and held their babies tight. Their babies were proof after all. And Dr. Mira, standing tall in his clinic, gazed at his wall of baby photos, his voice booming. No one leaves Mira Magic empty-handed. He believed it. They believed it. But suspicion, like pregnancy, cannot stay hidden forever. 3 years passed. Ngozi's son had grown into a lively boy with bright eyes and restless legs. To the outside world, she was the picture of a woman God had remembered. A proud mother, a woman no longer mocked by neighbors, a living testimony of Mira Magic. But inside her own body, something unsettling was stirring. Her monthly cycle had returned strangely, heavy one month, absent the next. Sometimes sharp pains gripped her lower abdomen like claws. At first, she told herself it was normal. After all, she had delivered by cesarean section. Scars take time, she thought. But as the months dragged on, even Chuka grew worried. "Ngozi," he said one evening, holding her hand as their son played on the floor. "Let's not sit here pretend. You are in pain, and we want another child. Lagos doctors, I don't think they're enough. Maybe we should go abroad. Everybody says India is the place for treatment. Let us try India now." She resisted at first. Traveling meant money, meant time away. But Chuka insisted. His brothers contributed. His elder sister even wired dollars from London. Soon, flights were booked, visas stamped, and Ngozi found herself staring through the small oval window of a plane, whispering prayers into the night sky. The New Delhi hospital gleamed like a palace of glass and steel. White walls, soft light, doctors who walked like brisk confidence. Ngozi felt both intimidated and hopeful. The examination began. Scans, blood tests, long consultations. She lay on a padded bed while a specialist ran the ultrasound probe across her abdomen. The screen lit up with black and white images. The doctor's expression darkened. He asked a quiet question through his interpreter. "Madam, you say you have delivered a child before?" Ngozi smiled faintly. "Yes, 3 years ago through cesarean section. I still have the scar." The doctor's brow furrowed. He turned the screen towards her husband. "Her womb shows no sign of pregnancy. The cervix is intact, no stretching, no history of labor. This uterus has never carried a baby." Ngozi's mouth went dry. "That cannot be you. I held my son myself after delivery. I carried my baby for 9 months. I bled, I suffered. I even have a scar." The doctor exchanged looks with his colleagues. They repeated the test, done a third time. The results did not change. Her womb was untouched. Ngozi's laughter broke into nervous fragments. Doctor, there must be a mistake. My son is 3 years old now. But when 3 specialists in 3 separate rooms confirmed the same verdict, her chest grew heavy with dread. When she returned to Lagos, Ngozi was restless. She couldn't eat. Her hands shook when she looked at her boy, who ran the compound, calling, "Mommy, mommy!" The truth pressed her like a stone. She couldn't ignore it anymore. Quietly, without telling Chuka, she ordered a DNA test. She swabbed her son's cheek, handed her own sample, and waited. When the envelope arrived, her heart almost stopped. She tore it open. There was blood through her tears. Probability of maternity, 0%. Ngozi fell to the ground, clutching her chest. The child she had carried in her arms for 3 years was not her blood. For nights she did not sleep. She would creep into her son's room, touch his hair, kiss his forehead, whisper, "You are mine," even if the world says otherwise. But grief turned into resolve. She needed answers. She needed the truth. She began with whispers, a private message to a woman from her church WhatsApp group. "Sister, did you also go to that Mira Magic hospital? How was your recovery after the cesarean section?" The reply came hesitantly. "It was strange actually, but my scar healed quickly, and my sister-in-law even joked that it looked too neat for a real surgery." Another woman confessed, "Doctor never allowed my husband inside the labor room. It was only nurses. We heard cries, then suddenly a baby appeared. I don't know what to think." Ngozi's pulse quickened. She wasn't alone. Her search led her to a woman called Grace, a nurse who had once worked at Mira Magic. Grace had left years ago, but guilt still clung to her. After much persuasion, they met in a quiet cafe in Yaba. Grace's hands trembled as she stirred her tea. "I should not be saying this," she whispered, "but I cannot carry it anymore." Ngozi leaned forward. Please tell me. I am really confused. Tell me everything." Grace's voice cracked. "We gave you another woman's child. There's a flat in Ajegunle where young girls were kept. Housemaids, widows, poor women. They carried the babies. We sedated you, played baby cries from a speaker. The scar on your stomach, it was shallow, made only to deceive. I saw it. I handed over children with my own hands." Ngozi's tears spilled freely, but she pressed on. "Can you prove it?" Grace nodded slowly. "Yes, I kept things. I couldn't live with myself." Together, they began to dig. Old receipts Mira had signed for care packages, photographs of the Ajegunle flat with mattresses lined in rows, voice recordings of Mira's booming instructions. No one leaves Mira Magic empty-handed. A dusty box where Grace had hidden cassette tapes, the very baby cries that once filled the theater. Each piece of evidence stabbed Ngozi's heart, but also strengthened her resolve. "This must end," she whispered. The raid came at dawn. Police trucks rolled into Ajegunle, surrounding the faded yellow building. Officers stormed in, dragging out young women with swollen bellies, some crying, some shielding their faces. Cameras captured the scene. Neighbors gathered, shouting, "Ah, baby factory, baby factory!" By afternoon, headlines blazed across Nigeria. "Miracle doctor exposed. Baby factory busted in Ajegunle." Mira's clinic on Victoria Island erupted into chaos. Couples who once danced at Thanksgiving now stormed his gates, tearing down his posters, demanding refunds, demanding their truth. Dr. Mira was arrested, his once spotless white coat stained with disgrace. The man who was commanded testimony stood in handcuffs, silent as the cameras flashed. Court hearings dragged on for months, but the evidence was unshakable. Surrogate mothers testified, tears rolling down their cheeks. Former nurses confessed. Parents waved DNA results in anger. The judge's voice thundered. "You exploited the desperate. You turned wombs into profit. You are guilty." The gavel fell. Dr. Mira was sentenced to long years in Kirikiri prison. Ngozi returned home, her son asleep against her shoulder. She kissed his forehead and whispered through her tears, "You may not be from my blood, but you are mine. Nobody can change that." But deep inside, she carried a vow: never again would women suffer silently under shame. She would tell the story so others would learn. And across Lagos, the name Mira magic that once meant hope now became a proverb of betrayal, a warning that even miracles must be questioned. In the months that followed, Lagos could not stop talking. At bus stops, in market stores, on WhatsApp status updates, everybody had an opinion about Dr. Mira. Some shook their heads in disbelief. How can a man play God like that? Others whispered in shame, hiding their own doubts, afraid to admit that the miracle they carried home might have been a lie. Churches that once celebrated him fell silent. Testimonies that once shook the altar were quietly deleted from group chats. Neighbors who once mocked Ngozi now avoided her eyes, ashamed of their words. But for Ngozi, the battle had shifted. She no longer saw herself as a victim. She had become a voice. She joined advocacy groups, telling her story carefully, warning other couples not to trade restoration for blind faith. One evening, as she watched her son sleep, she whispered again, "You are mine. They cannot take you away from me." Love had rewritten biology. Her arms, her care, her tears, those were the true markers of motherhood. And far away behind the iron gates of Kirikiri, Dr. Mira sat in silence. His white coat was gone, replaced with prison browns. His booming voice had faded. On the wall of his clinic, one hung hundreds of baby photos. In his cell, there were none. For a man who swore no one would leave Mira Magic empty-handed, he now sat empty-handed himself. The end. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. This story is not just about Dr. Mira. It's about you. It's about me. It's about what happens when desperation meets miraculous solutions. When we are desperate, we can believe anything, even lies dressed as miracles. But no matter how heavy the burden feels, we must still pause, ask questions, and search for the real truth. Because if it sounds too good to be true, there is a very high possibility that it actually is. And that, my friend, is the lesson for today. And if you follow this story to the end, I want you to do one thing for me. Don't let it end with you. Share it, because somewhere out there may be someone who is about to make desperate decisions. And this story might be the reminder they need to pause, ask questions, to seek answers, and to know that so-called miraculous solutions are never the true remedy. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.